And we're live. Hey, everyone. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's Closing Show Live Day. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. If you got the ping and don't know what this is, the Closing Show Live is a weekly live show featuring the people of Proposify, sales stars in the trenches, and revenue leaders. The Closing Show Live is hosted by me, Nadia Milani, VP of Marketing at Proposify. Every week, we discuss the challenges we're facing, the no BS lessons we've learned, so you can crush your close rates. The Closing Show Live is brought to you by, of course, Proposify. Get consistency, control, and visibility into your proposal process. Start your 14-day trial today at proposify.com. So some really quick housekeeping things before we get started. Sometimes a live will freeze. It happens on LinkedIn once in a while. Press pause and then play again, and you'll be brought right back in. You can catch the recording of today's show at proposify.com or on the LinkedIn page. It'll be there for you to view right after the show. And you can also find us on YouTube if you want to check that out. And to win a prize today, just ask a question in the comments field. And we have Saad Khan today, so it's going to be awesome. We're talking about BDRs, SDRs, how to scale your team so you can crush your close rates. And we're giving away one Closing Show Live swag pack, as well as one 30-minute consultation with Saad. So that's going to be amazing. Thanks for the generosity, Saad. And Hunter will be picking the prize winner at the end of the show. With the prize wheel, all you got to do again is ask a question. Hello, Alan. I see you in the comments. Thanks for joining us today. So building high performance SDR and BDR teams takes good people, right? Process and tech. I think so. I don't really know. I'm just starting to my BDR journey. Recently, the BDR team reports into marketing, but we're going to find out how to build the best teams with the one and only Saad Khan. He joins us today. He's a sales leader at Vendor, and he's also built some teams at Julie and other cool companies. So welcome, Saad, to the show.
Thank you. What an intro. No pressure at all.
I know. No, it's exciting. We're so happy that you're here, but it's a really good intro because you've done really cool things. So I want to start off right away because 30 minutes always goes by fast. And every week I'm like, holy moly, macaroni. I don't say that, but I just say at the time.
You should. I like the holy moly macaroni. It's good. It's endearing.
I love macaroni, by the way, just side note. But so you're a BDR leader. You have been for a while. So tell me a little bit about your journey. Why have you stuck around in the BDR SDR world? I want to know all about it. Let's start there.
Yeah, I actually started my career as an AE. And then what my company Clio did, interestingly, was they built their BDR team much further down in, as a company. And what they did was they moved some AEs to the BDR team. They had few AE teams. One was a full prospecting AE team. They moved those AEs to the BDR team. And what started happening was that BDR team started booking meetings, started booking really qualified meetings. And ultimately what happened with me at that time was we were working content leads. And essentially what happened was I went from 100% of me being split into cold calling, prospecting, qualifying, closing to cold calling, prospecting, qualifying, and passing meetings along. And it's I knew how to close deal and how to do discovery. So everybody, what the company did was they hired 4 or 5 of us internally and hired 6, 7 BDRs externally. And the result was that my conversion numbers, it's on LinkedIn, was 5.6% for all the leads that we were getting, which is literally double the rest of the company. So all I was doing was selling qualified meetings because I was taught how to do so. Ended up breaking the company's comp plan. And after having only been a rep for 1.5 years, 1.7 years, I got 2 promotions, including one was an opportunity to build a BDR team at this company called Enable that were expanding to North America. So I guess early on in my career, I started, and not as a brag, but was experimenting, doing things, started seeing success from it, and found out that I was able to teach people on that as well. And things started kind of organically falling into place. And I just continued to do what I was enjoying, and then just learning more on top of it, and just, being here, kind of being presenting opportunities like these. And the last bit of that is my CEO at Vendor asked me, he's like, why do you want to manage BDRs? I said, at Dooley, we figured something out was people want to move into sales management because they want to manage closers. I found a way to build closers. So that was my
Ooh, build closers. Okay, so you said something that just got me my eyes just popped open. You had a 5.6 conversion rate on leads. You broke the comp plan. Can we just dig a little bit into that? So how did you do it? What did you do?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
I actually I actually have kept this all this material with me since back in the day. So, and I can kind of walk you through this as well. And I think I know what a lot of companies are kind of doing this right now as well. Um,
Yes.
Essentially, what I did was we were getting content leads. We were getting leads from webinars. Our company was also a partner with the American Bar Association at that time. They still are. So every time a lawyer passed the bar, they used to get a copy of Clio's legal trends report. Um, we would get all these leads. So essentially, I started doing a few things. The first thing was when you get a lead, you want to understand what the action the prospect is doing on their buyer's journey, right? Buyers go from awareness, consideration, decision, and purchase. Now, for companies that don't have a PLG motion, when they're trying to capture prospects at the awareness phase, they're going to capture them through, at least in my opinion, through webinars, events, just stuff like that. It's like people aren't ready to buy, but they're ready to learn about some problem, some topic. So understanding that motion where the prospect might be, I started sending out messaging that wasn't, hey, you went attended this, come buy from us. I started treating it as a nurture pathway, like, hey, what prompted your interest? Why did you attend? What about this topic interests you? Because this topic actually leans into the ultimate topic, which is the sale of this product. And I would get people to tell me, oh, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that. Some people would just move along faster. Some people were just ready. So I was able to take my own lead list and build a funnel off of it of people that are ready to buy, people that aren't ready to buy, and people that are perfect nurtures. And then I found myself month over month in a position where people were just ready to convert. And essentially what I did was, and I've kept this with me since way back when, let me just share my entire screen and make sure I don't have any, I should know. So we came up with this sequence back in the day at Clio. And this is originally from Clio. This is not my own sequence. What I've done is I've developed it further, and it was split into 3 sections. The first section was literally awareness, education, and conversion. As you can see, the first 3 steps here, and I'll show you what the sequence looks like. They're automated. The first message, automated message, is literally going out, and this is my Dooley version of it. Is, wait, what prompted you to download? Sorry, it says vendor right now, but what prompted you to download Dooley? What prompted you to attend, etc., etc. They tell us what they were interested in. Now you start personalizing the sequence. Now you start giving them the content pieces that they were interested in, and ultimately you work with marketing and to kind of fill this puzzle, you'd get the highest. So for example, if somebody told me that they were interested in topic A, I'd work on marketing and get the most highest converting content pieces around topic A and just flood these sequences. So guiding the SDRs, enabling them on how to prospect the right way while doing such that, and then obviously kind of tying in, the pieces from around the company as well was kind of helping me. Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was helping me. That's the same thing we just passed along to my reps as well, helped out as well. Yeah, sorry, I went on a bit of a ramble there, but
No, that was actually amazing. So, because what I love is that you led with curiosity, right? So it's like, marketing is just like, we're like blasting all these different, different initiatives. We have like content pieces, and we have events, and we have webinars, and we're like creating all this stuff. And what I love about that is you led with like the curiosity of like, hey, why did you attend this particular event? What sparked your interest? And it was more of like a kind of consultative
yeah,
curiosity, or a question around curiosity versus like, hey, do you want a demo?
yeah,
And I love that because you could see the results like right away. And thanks for sharing that, because this is actually
of
the
course.
first, I think the second or potentially the third time somebody shared their screen on Closing Show Live. So love it. But like people use like BDRs and SDRs interchangeably. So I'm curious, like, what's the difference in your perspective? You started as an AE. What's your perspective on like what's the difference? Should there be a difference?
Yeah.
And yeah, so go for it.
There was a time when there was a difference. There was a time when SDRs were just doing, it was kind of like sales development representatives. They're just booking and converting inbound meeting requests, and BDRs are doing outbound. That's kind of what my old company did as well. Gave us outbound. Then there was an SDR team, and then I went to Dooley, and then there was a joke. Internally you would say BDR, and then in our marketing in our language it would be SDRs. And then my boss and I, Michelle Pete, shout out, we sat down, we were just like, do we care? He's like, we absolutely do not. And we just like, let's just use it interchangeably. So traditionally, that's kind of how people look at it. But also my reason for thinking about it interchangeably, the way I think about SDR teams, just my personally, is I think they should be doing a bit of everything. They should be doing inbound, they should be doing outbound, and they should be doing content, like all those things together. Working inbound teaches you the right way to do qualification for content. Working
Mhm.
outbound allows you to nurture inbound. Gartner suggests it. Everybody knows this. Inbounds convert at 40%, 35%. There's a big delta. There's a 60% delta. How do you cover that off? Through outbound, through the right training, through the right enablement, through the right practices. In hospitality, the customer is always right. In SaaS, I do not think the customer is always right. They're not even always educated. So how can they be always right?
I love that approach. So yeah, I think that you're right. Like now it's just they're converging. I think that like sometimes they're interchangeable, but they should be doing both. Like we're mostly
Yeah.
inbound. Like our BDRs team is mostly working on inbound, but we also do some prospecting as well because it's like your inbound is only going to be able to like achieve like a percentage of your overall revenue targets. So it's like let's add some outbound. So love
Yeah.
that. Totally agree with that approach. Okay, so let's like shift gears a little bit to like how to actually build teams. So you've built a few BDR teams in your career. So the big thing is like attracting talent. So how do you go about like attracting the right talent? Some people say, well, it's usually junior roles, but how do you attract, junior people who are going to be great? You're probably gonna have to train them. So take me through how do you actually build
Yeah.
teams? I actually had a couple of people DM me today and yesterday, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's like the perfect like time that you're doing this because I'm building my BDR team and I don't even know how to like find the right people."
Yeah. Um, there's a few ways to go on about this. And I'm probably come across a little biased because I might have covered this step off. But having a brand and people messaging you that, hey, I want to work with you, and as a byproduct, I want to work for a company, that's that's a very powerful thing.
Hmm.
So, but how do you take a step back behind that, right? Work with your marketing and make your company more attractive to work for, aka a very simple content strategy which marketing and sales can work on together, is stop focusing on thought leadership, but start working on branding. There was a time when you would attract people by paying $15,000 and, hey, I'm a thought leader, come buy from me. If somebody walked up to you on the street and was like, hey, I'm a thought leader, buy from me, you'd be like, whoa, calm down, there's way too much going on over here. So I think before thought leadership has to be trust, and before trust is likability. Likability is basic. What Dooley did about likability was music videos, branding, content through reps. When I started there, I started making a joke that, you know what, I'll start posting content. I started adding my hashtag content at the end of every post. But my posting strategy was very strategic. I would only shout at my team, highlight our BDRs are duly closing deals, because which BDR does not want to close deals, and start marketing a product that way. And that became the role, the company, the product, like people wanted it. But everybody was bought into that strategy. It wasn't just one person doing it. So
Hmm.
I'll quickly share my screen again
Oh, I
here,
love it. So
show and
like
tell.
Saad's bringing the slides.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so let me share my screen here. Okay, so this was an actual strategy we deployed. We used to market our product Dooley and be able to say that, hey, Dooley, the whole niche was that Dooley helped BDR succeed. A's closed deals, BDRs closed deals. And we started talking about it on the socials. This isn't personal information, but just going into, there's something very important that happened over here was we used to create content pieces and publicize it, market it all in one go. Call it an engagement pod, call it an engagement strategy, but we used to do it internally. These would be the follower spikes that would happen when we would make our posts. 15,000, 1,500 follower increases, 3,000, 4,000, et cetera, et cetera. People are noticing that. And this would be coming from my company page, our marketing teams, my own personal page, our marketing team's page. None of it was driven necessarily by just, your typical traditional company pages. So simply what it came down to was making your brand, your product, and your organization look as attractive as possible. And the final bit of that is, if you want to attract SDRs, you want to bring them an environment where they're going to succeed. So we started leaning into the Gong strategy about sales excellence. The Gong and ClickUp back in the day created their own internal influencer, and that's what was attracting them consulting opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So we decided, you know what, let's become the sales guys. Let's become the cold calling people. Let's become those people that we're able to guide, share best practice on, and then ultimately as a byproduct of that, we're able to attract talent and sell. And the last bit of that is we actually paid our SDRs really well. I hired experienced BDRs. I paid them. That was our marketing strategy at the time. We were paying them a highest Canadian-based salary, but we weren't hiring in US. And we all know that there is a bit of a delta. So that strategically, that made the role attractive as well. And lastly, this was after I said lastly multiple times, none of my reps ever missed quota. And every single time they hit target, that was going on LinkedIn. So people are coming for money, for branding, and just, for the combined package. And we're trying to do that at Vendor here as well. Now, is it 100% applicable? No. But I'm maintaining the social presence of it, sharing my company. Sharing my company's data, just, our own work excellence. So you have to build it strategically. I think that's the only way to go about it.
Love it. Yeah. So when you have a brand, it helps. So it's just really, it's if you don't have it, it's about building it. I love what you had talked. You mentioned working with your marketing team. So it's like break down the barriers, start working together. So the dual use case was that you started to own the conversation around sales. And if I missed it, let me know. And then you're starting to post pretty much every single day, kind of followed like the gong. Kind of the gong strategy of like posting on your personal pages. Everyone's doing that. Everyone's supporting each other from a dually perspective. And then that grew, and that grew organically. Did I miss anything from that? Because that was a really interesting nugget. I love like the peaks, some of the valleys, but like you could see the growth from that strategy.
No, completely spot on. And yeah, I tend to go on a bit of a ramble when I think about these stories and stuff like that. But no, exactly. So level 1 was we built likability. Level 2, likability got us trust, and that trust got us thought leadership and sales, and just and that only happened at 100% execution of involving all departments, including marketing. Shout out Camille. This was a joke at Dooley, but I was actually part of the marketing team, and sales had just adopted me.
I think we talked about this. I saw you at an event last week, and you mentioned that I actually came from marketing and then you were then adopted by your sales team.
Yeah. It's this is something that I love. We'll get into it after. I think you might have a question around it as well, but I think that was the key. That's been the key for having fun at work. Success comes secondary right now. There's a lot of stuff happening outside, so let's just find a way to have fun. And the way I have fun is by not just staying in my department, understanding marketing. That's where demand gen practices. I think true outbound. I used to be kind of against the idea of SDRs reporting into marketing. And the more I kind of try to understand GT emotions, the more I'm just like, it does make sense. It actually makes perfect sense.
So how do you align all teams? So I think that like one of the ways of aligning marketing and sales specifically is like what we just talked about. You could have BDRs reporting into marketing. If it doesn't align them already, then it does. Or you have marketing reporting into like a CRO. That structure is like debatable too. But like, let's talk a little bit about like, how do you align AEs, BDRs, and marketing? We talked a little bit about like content strategy and like aligning on those things. But what else can you do to help those teams work together really well and efficiently?
Yeah. I think let's also break down alignment. I think the thing that I don't have control over is, let's be very honest, is how marketing is going to get paid, what SLAs, just, all that stuff. But a core idea that has always stuck by me, and we actually did it at my last org, is making sure marketing is aligned to revenue and not just leads. And how that happens, how that comes about, there's many ways to go on about it. The thing that we did, the thing that I tried to do, and I continue to try to do, is just go off of a framework that I've built. I'm continuing to try to test and develop it, but this framework in the past helped marketing. Actually, I have another show and tell. Over here.
Let's do it.
So marketing is producing leads, right? And marketing wants leads to get converted. Marketing and sales are only going to be happy if marketing's leads are accepted by sales. Simple, I think. So how do we manufacture that? Well, there is a way. There is a way. And the way we can do that, the way we can have control over that is And this is what we're doing at Vendor. I've done this. This is on my newsletter. I've shared it publicly. So please feel free to ask me questions about it. But I think you have to think about it in three steps and then build off of there. So level one is basic. Sales and marketing together, BDRs, A's, everybody. Identify your target accounts, map everything on Salesforce. But then even before you start doing your outreach, start connecting with these people on LinkedIn. Start creating content that's going to be relevant to them just so they can engage with you. They don't have to necessarily comment on your profile, but get your stuff in front of their eyes, or start just liking and commenting organically in the right way. So by the time I'm calling somebody, they go like, wait, I've kind of heard about you. And if you can, then start reporting weekly progress of it. 100% execution is not always possible. So a second step from here, which is actionable and very powerful, is this. Level one is going to help you create level two, which is if you're doing that targeting and outbound the right way, then you're going to start generating inbounds. And you're organically going to start generating inbounds because that's the job of your marketing team, right? But have a Slack channel that pushes notifications every time an inbound comes for visibility. The key over here is you start tracking these 4 or 5 variables: account name, lead title, industries, top 5 competitors, and cross-reference them from customers in your Salesforce. That creates an inbound, outbound care package. So by the time Monday rolls around, the outbound team can just outbound on all these things that are coming inbound, aka the inbound to outbound play. That's a demand gen play that we do currently. That's something that I've always done before, is every single time an inbound comes in, go get 5 of their competitors. Every single time you get a close one deal, cross-reference from Salesforce. If we have competitors and customers, go outbound to the rest of them. Same thing, same information goes to marketing. Ultimately, we come down to a point where marketing is working on and aligned with sales, and we're just spending ad money and all that good stuff on titles that are coming inbound, industries, most keyword searches, paid ads, blogs, etc., etc. Ultimately, when we have all these things, we can just go buy leads that exhibit that intent and prepare ourselves for ABM campaigns and all that good stuff. Just a cool alignment framework that kind of brings it all together. And then we go into just all our some people might call this the boring stuff. This is where things get really tactical, but just it's just kind of a little bit of a high level. I'm going to pause over here to make sure that I answered your question.
Yeah, no, I think so I think sales alignment, the conversation, I think it depends, and I hate that answer, at the company you're at. So it depends on what stage your motion is, like if you're PLG or if you're starting with, if you're selling into large accounts and enterprise, you're probably going to be more outbound heavy at the beginning, and then you're going to intro your inbound after. But it's about like connecting. I think like that's where it becomes it's connecting, and having a revenue number is like the most critical part. So if you're like, if you're early stage, your marketing team may or may not have that revenue number yet. It's going to be really about creating content and like, getting more attention out there, creating the brand, leveraging, different channels to generate more just awareness around your product. Then it's like later stage, you will probably have a revenue number at some point. But that's where like the true alignment starts, is like when you have that actual revenue number you need to hit every single month or quarter. And then obviously then into year, that's when you need to like really start to figure sorry, excuse my language, but like you got to figure shit out. Like, well, how are you going to be able to generate that level of inbound pipeline or marketing source pipeline, so you have real opportunities that can actually convert into revenue? So we've got a question here. What tips and tricks do you leverage? And I can't see the whole question here. Hold on. I'm just moving my screen over. Oh my gosh. Okay. So running a stream 101, make sure you can like see the questions. So what tips and tricks do you have for breaking through the noise? Everyone gets tons of calls, emails, connection requests every day now that they ignore. So good question. We talked a little bit about this. Want to answer that, Saad? I have some thoughts on that too.
Of course. Yeah. I have a lazy answer for it, but go review your call frameworks, go review your scripts. Are you selling a problem? Are you doing a hypothesis test to validate if a problem exists, or are you going out to sell a feature? Same thing for if somebody's calling me and they're like, Saad, we can give you all this stuff. I'll be like, wait, did I ask for all this stuff? There's other things that are top of mind for me. If you're calling directors and C-suite and execs, and if you say the wrong thing to them at the right time, you're losing them. Nobody's thinking if I'm going to buy a product, I'm not going to Google the product's name because I don't even know that exists. What I'm going to Google is the problem that my company might be facing. And if that product pops up, that's how we buy. That's how SEO works, right? Nadia, you know more about this. So how does it make sense to call somebody if you think your cold calls aren't working? And I've seen so many people have the same problem as to why they're not working. It's happened here internally and we fix it. That's not going to work. Emailing is the exact same thing. I think we owe it to ourselves as well. Unfortunately, with social, there's a lot of best practice out there, and best practice keeps evolving. If we as leaders don't stay on top of it, then our reps are going to struggle. That's what it ultimately comes down to. Is the execution at 100%? And almost often, always, it's not. And it's a very easy thing to say, oh, people aren't buying. That's not true. We're not asking. My job is not to go and sell them. My job is to go find out if they have a problem that I can solve. I think that's my opinion. That is it.
Yeah, and you also touched on like the brand itself. So it's either like your personal branding as a seller or your actual brand that can help leverage how to actually cut through the noise and break through. Is if you have the power of that brand, like Gong, Gooey, arguably that helps, and that a lot of that has to do with your own personal branding on social, because like if you can say, oh my gosh, I think I've seen that guy before. I think I know that person.
Yeah, that's true.
Then that really does help, I think, with the conversation or the outreach. So I think that is another aspect to it. Another person asks, is consistency of the process that breeds success? So is it like really about being process driven? So you shared a few slides of like, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 marketing alignment. Is like 1 to 5 steps to, address each stage. By the way, if somebody wants those slides, can they reach out to you after?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, but like, is it all about that? Is it just about like following like those steps consistently to be able to drive the outcomes / the revenue?
The answer is yes, because that's all I know, at least till now. And I forgot to share this earlier, but the result of that stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 alignment, and I think this answers your question, is Q was our head of marketing at Dooley. And last year, back in January, our inbound demo requests completely dropped off, but marketing still hit their 105% of their H1 target, because we had set up the entire process for our BDRs to convert those content leads, which what I showed you earlier, that exactly to the point. We had a process, we stuck to it, and quarter over quarter, it was just churning the numbers that we had predicted. Yes, it does come down to having the right process and then sticking to it. But other thing that we should do, and I try to do as much as possible, is run experiments every quarter to see if this thing is going to dry out. What more can you build off of it?
Yeah.
Like run experiments, scale fast, and break fast as well. Whatever results you get, scale them. Learnings, you learn from them. Now, the same experiment I've done at another org and it hasn't worked. It's because of not 100% execution. And at 2 of them, it has. So that's what I'm going after, is if done the right way, it works, especially for marketing content leads. I haven't seen any other strategy for marketing to get more leads going their way unless sales is not talking to those leads the right way.
But I love that too. Like, so back to like, how do you break through the noise? So you mentioned earlier too, it's like, so it's really about being, what is the intent behind their engagement around anything? So if it's like, they liked my LinkedIn post, or they attended a webinar, or they attended an event, or they downloaded some piece of whatever content, like what was the intent behind that? And it's asking the question with curiosity. It's like, hey, I noticed this event, I'm curious, like, why did that interest you? Versus like, hey, here's a salesperson, I'm going to direct you right to an AE, which never works and never did work. So it's really about like the intent behind like the engagement and digging into why that is. So, and then that's what ended up sparking like just higher conversion rates altogether. Let's switch gears a little bit to like tech, because like when you're building anything, it's like the people which we address, like how do you, find good people on your team? So we talked about like brand helps, but also paying your actual SDRs and BDRs well has been something has helped you attract, good talent. So going senior versus junior. So we talked a little bit about process, like having alignment with your teams.
Yeah.
And that like BDRs and SDRs sometimes are interchangeable, but they should be doing both inbound and outbound and marketing, arguably like content and personal branding and all of that fun stuff. So let's talk a little bit about tools and like tech. So like what is the optimal tech stack? You don't need to like actually like, name vendors or products, but how do you get your stuff done? Like, do you need a lot? Do you need a little? What's your point of view on that, especially if you're starting out?
Yeah, I've never been a guru about, oh, have more tech stack, have less tech stack. Kind of just there's certain things you need. I'll be very easy about it. The most important thing for me is having cell phone numbers for my team, so a good data source. I don't like calling HQ numbers anymore. I was selling during COVID, and I have PTSD from it, from the amount of dials I've made and not gotten anything from it. So I've learned my lesson permanently post-COVID world. So that obviously you need to have your sales engagement platform. I do like call rooms now as well. We're in the remote world. I think it's gone. Call rooms, not just to get people to dial, but so I can listen and coach them live. Because I haven't worked around a team in an office in a while. And I am a coach. I love coaching. I love cold calling. I've been doing it on LinkedIn Live as well. I do it just so I can keep my game fresh and I can continue to help my team out. And the final bit is intent tracking. But also something like I don't know what the equivalent for Marketo might be. I made all of my money as a rep by just tracking what my leads were doing live, if they're going on website pages, if they're opening my emails, and those I lived off those notifications. So I think simply those things. You know what? These days as well. This one. I am a huge lover of power dialers. We used to get spiffs for making $120 a day, and now there are tools that can just do that in 10 seconds and get you. It kind of hurts that I didn't have that back in the day, but I respect it. So
that's awesome. Can you so the actual sales room, which do you mind just shouting out like what you use? Because I'm actually interested in learning about that.
Yeah. We use Nooks. Shout out Rohan and team. They're good friends. I actually started doing my first cold calling live sessions with them on their platform last year. So yeah, I personally love what they're doing.
Marty asked, what's a call room? Do you want to answer that question?
Sorry, can you say that again? Oh, what's Marty a call room? Oh, so it's kind of like a sales floor. It's a virtual sales floor where 5-10 of your reps, including yourself, if you're working remote, you can dial on like live, listen to each other's calls, not get distractions. So imagine being in an office and dialing with your reps while you're remote. You can coach them live, all that good stuff. Like, there was a question earlier, how do you know if your calls are hitting or not? Just, listen, give feedback,
Love it. Great. I can't believe time is up, but it is. So time is up. Oh, hold on. Aaron asks, how do you amp yourself up on days when you feel deflated? That is a really good question. We're going to end with the last one.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a good question no matter what part of the revenue team you're working. Keep motivated, got to keep inspired. So what's your trick for that?
Yeah. Somebody said this to me and I kind of just never forget it. They're like, Saad, we really like working with you. I said, why? They're like, you're unnecessarily positive and you need that in SaaS right now. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep it. So fake it till you make it. I told Nadia earlier, I injured my neck on Sunday and I've been having a rough few days. So I don't know if my energy today was good or not, but I enjoy doing this. I enjoy the work that we do. It's tough. It's bullshit sometimes, but I think over the last 2 years, what I personally did for myself was I started communicating and networking a lot more intentionally, not to sell my product, but to just meet people. And I just realized that way more people are thinking like me, feeling how I am, but also as dedicated and trying to do incredible things. I think that kind of got me more amped up to try and find more of that in our industry, because it's pretty intense right now.
Well, thanks for joining us. You really brought the energy, even with like a neck injury or like neck thing going on. So thanks for joining us today. Some really great tips, and like thanks for sharing a lot of those slides with us. We got to pick a winner. So we're going to pick a winner today. One Closing Show Live swag pack and a 30-minute consultation with Saad on how to build the best BDR team ever at your organization. So let's go, Hunter. Let's spin the wheel.
All right, here we go.
Monica McElroy. Amazing. winner of the 30-minute consultation and closing show live swag. So thanks again for joining us. So thanks for being really generous and giving away the
My
30
pleasure.
consultation. If you want to see the recording of this, you missed some of it, just go onto your LinkedIn page. It'll be there. It's on YouTube as well as proposify.com under the resources section. But join us next week. We're going to have Jeff Risley. He's the author of Stress Less, Sell More. It's going to be a goodie. Join us next week. It's on a Tuesday. So I'm going to be traveling on a Wednesday. So we need to like bump it up a day. See you next week. Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.